Okay, welcome to another Between the Pages interview. And our guest today is Heddy Johannesen, and I hope I pronounced that right. And I'm going to turn it over to her now, let her introduce herself. So take it away.
Well, I'm Heddy Johannesen, and I'm a writer. I live in Nova Scotia. I just started a SWA Atlantic chapter, a co-chair with Mike, and I'm really excited about it, and I'm excited to see where this goes. And I write horror fiction, and yeah, it's about that.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself, like you just did, and then what you write. I mean, how many you write short stories and poetry as well? Have you got anything else out? Are you working on anything?
Well, I've done a lot of nonfiction related to the paranormal and some stuff about herbs. And I'm kind of excited because I've got an article about paranormal paganism that's going to be in Witches and Pagans magazine out this fall. And I have my short story is going to be published in the October issue of the Horror Zine. And that really blew me away because I never, thought that that would happen. This is a short story that I thought, well, I would surely never get published, and it just proves you should not give up or quit because you just never know.
Yeah, and congratulations on getting those 2 things published. Very good. So, what is it about short stories that appeals to you writing them?
Well, one, it's a short length, so you don't, it's fewer characters and it's not as long as a novel because novels really challenging. I've done it. I know it's hard work. And a short story, like if you're writing a short story or a novella, I like to I figure with your first draft, I know some people are nervous about this and I try to offer encouragement, but I think you should just let yourself go. Really go there. With horror, you have a lot of freedom to tell the kind of story you want to tell, whether that's, brain eating zombies or werewolves or werebears you know, um, or see cats. It's like, you just let yourself go, and just be free. If it's your first draft and you're just getting it down, shouldn't criticize yourself and just be as wild or as morose or as scary as you want to be. And I try to encourage someone on Facebook and give them some like feedback to just um, reach inside yourself and just put that in your page. I wrote a horror novella a few months ago, and I am still asking myself where a story like that came from because it was different than anything I'd ever written. But I just went with it, and it was really, really, really like seriously dark, and I had these dark themes and these creatures that exist in this alternate dimension. They're part human, part spider, and I was just like, okay, where did the story come from? But I went with it. Mm.
Yeah, well, the part spider is definitely automatic horror for some people. I know a lot of people get creeped out by spiders. So, do you have any writing tips for beginners on writing short stories? Because I know a lot of people who said, "Oh, I don't think I could write a short story because I always write so long. I'm always writing so many words, and it'd be hard for me to cut them down." So, do you have any tips for people who'd like to write short stories?
Yeah. Um, keep trying. Um, don't be too hard on yourself. The creative process is a fragile one, and so I know life is challenging. I mean, COVID has challenged everybody, and it's really, really tested us. And writing can maybe be like a therapy away from that. Let yourself be creative. When it's the first draft, you just let yourself go. And I think it's a good practice writing short stories. This short form is challenging for me as well. And because I wanted to write a new one about I want to write a new short story about a magic root that kind of comes to life and goes on a killing spree. I haven't finished writing it, and but I'm trying to let all my self doubt that I have inside me defeat me. I like to write really long stories too, but the short story really um, makes you practice. The editing comes later, so don't people should be afraid.
Mm, yeah, yeah, because you can always edit it down if you need to.
Mhm.
So, what are some of the themes you've explored in your stories?
Mm, well, I love the HWA and I love horror, and because I've always identified with the misfits and loners, and I find that they get to be the ones who are like the heroes in the stories, like in It and Stranger Things. It's the kids you didn't expect that rush out to save the day, and like identify with that. So I noticed that I was thinking lately, like a lot of my characters, they're the like that, brave and unselfish, and willing to rush in and save a day. And so I noticed that some of my characters have got those qualities. But I've also explored the supernatural and the paranormal because like I'm just fascinated with the paranormal, like big time. Monsters, death, fear, darkness, and like in my novella, a lot of my the spider characters, that part human, part spider, they have this addiction to blood, and I was, you know, um, or you know, like sleep paralysis, ghosts, um, and just I just kind of go where my imagination takes me. Mm.
Okay, so you've said you write horror and paranormal. I mean, do you tend to be more of a psychological, like sort of a horror writer, or do you sometimes venture into the more gory bits?
Well, with this novella I just did, I think that would definitely answer your question. Like I say, I have no idea where the story came from. It was a complete surprise. But but it was more like, yeah, I think I'm more psychological. Like I don't have the courage to watch The Exorcist, but I think it's like the archetype of all exorcism movies. Nothing's ever going to compare to it. Poltergeist was a good stuff. That's the kind of thing I like. Poltergeist. It was I used to date this guy who was into horror movies big time, so we had a great time. I'm all caught up on most of the original horror movies. He's not much for the sequels. The sequels ruin it. And yeah, I like stuff by Ray Bradbury and Richard Matheson and Edgar Allan Poe and Mary Shelley. It's a little bit more psychological. Yeah, I'd say that is where I seems to be where I gravitate to.
Yeah, Ray Bradbury's a favorite of mine too. He's really good
Mhm.
for the psychological stuff. So, what do you struggle with as a writer?
Oh God, I could go on all day about that. Thanks. Like what I struggle with is like what I'm trying to do now is I'm rewriting my novella and giving it more edits because I'm impatient and I just want it rushed and done. And someone said, Stucker, don't rush the edit. And I'm like, I have to listen. I have to slow down. Take it a little easier. Not be hard on myself, of course, because I think that all writers everywhere are too hard on themselves when they shouldn't be. Um, and to edit it and like, really get into the heads of my characters. I'm really trying hard to do that, and because I thought that was maybe why I was getting so many rejections, and to not rush the edit. Like all those techniques I've gotten, I took Jonathan Mayberry's writing workshop, and I got this book about what's it called? Writing We Break Out Novel Workbook. And if I can get through this book, I'm like, I hate this book. And then I realized I hate it because it's working. And I am trying to, do like what he suggests in the book and look at I write on paper. I just write on the manuscript. I'm not writing in the workbook because, you know, I don't have the room to have like 20 copies of the workbook in my apartment. My apartment's small, so I mark right on the manuscript and then I just put it on the computer after when I've gone through the whole edit. But yeah, mastering making a short story short and resisting the temptation to make it long. But techniques like that, it's a bit uphill, but hopefully, we'll get
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, that's, all writers know that struggle is to yeah, gotta sit down and do the work. The novels don't magically write themselves as much as we wish they would. So, do you have a favorite author or someone who's, writing inspiration for you?
Well, um, well, some of the other writers I mentioned, like Poe Shelley, Ray Bradbury, and Richard Matheson. I don't like the movie adaptations of I Am Legend. I love the book. And
Mhm.
Rich, right from the beginning of I Am Legend, he brings me right into the story. I really like that. And I feel for the character. I'm trying to repair his house because those monsters are destroying it all the time. I'm like, oh, the poor guy. But modern writers, like I just read Cabino Iglesias' book, The Devil Takes You Home. And one of the things I respect about his book a lot, it would be cool to tell him this in person, is like he is like me. Like he goes there. Like by that I mean like really, like it takes a lot of courage to put all that on the page. And I can respect that. His book, The Devil Takes You Home, well, some of it was a little bit hard for me to read, but I think it's brilliant. And I like Kingfishers for Twisted Ones because I could relate to that book a lot because I have a place where I spent a lot of time visiting my grandparents, and we had moose and deer and cougars and eagles and owls and foxes and rabbits running around. We didn't have the strange creatures she had in the Twisted Ones, but since I spent so much time there, I read her book, and the memory of spending the time with my grandparents at their cottage in the woods just made that book the more real for me. And I couldn't put either of those books down. It was like, yeah, I relate. I understand this, and felt like I was right there with the characters. And I read, I was starting to read Stephen Graham Jones' My Heart is a Chainsaw. And he really brings me right into the book. And I like that because some books I just put down and then don't even give them a second thought. But, if I can't put this book down and like, wherever there's like, a big appointment coming, I got to make sure that dental appointment on time, or it's 3 a.m. I don't, it's like, okay, it must be a good book.
Yeah, I started reading, Neil Gaiman's, Ocean at the End of the Lane right before a dental appointment, and I got to the chapter where the spoiler here for people who haven't read the book, where the cat gets killed,
Oh,
and that's where I had to stop because I would have missed the dental appointment, so right after that, I came right back home and I spent the rest of the day reading the book.
mhm,
Yeah, so, yeah, I can relate to that.
yeah.
But anyway, so you're also a poet. So what appeals to you about writing poetry as opposed to short stories or novels?
Well, it's a different expression. I haven't written any new poetry in a while, but I want to get back into it. I want to do another book. I did do one years ago. This little volume of poetry here, but I want to do that one. My first one is a combination of light and dark poems, and I've got the writing them a dark workbook for the poems. Not like Tim Wagner's other kind of books where he seems to be encouraging you more to write the fiction. And I wanted to do another book of poems, but I just sure that has its own challenges. But poetry it really is a beautiful expression of something, I think. And um, to, I like to write honest. I really like to write from the heart. I don't want to write something just to get it published, like because it won't have the same heart. I think that you can't cheat readers. I think they'll know. Yeah.
Mm.
And I'm sure that the other authors I mentioned try to do the same thing.
So do you write mostly with free verse or do you do form poetry as well?
Well, I had this awesome book. Um, and where is it? Just one sec. Sorry. Oh, God. Anybody who wants to write poetry has got to get themselves this book. I'll send you the link. Oh, my God. I've tried this with this book. I've tried to do, you get to try different like free verse and more formal stuff that you practice. It's got all these wonderful exercises. The book is absolutely brilliant. I really recommend it. It's You Can Write Poetry by Jeff Mock, and it's just
Mm.
yeah, it's a great book, and it helps you because I did that book of poems, and I can't live without that little poetry instruction book. It's great. He's really friendly, um, encouraging, and he's got these different techniques, practice like exercises you can try, and it's a great book.
So, do you have a favorite poem that you've either written or read?
Yeah, Encounter with Death. I got that one published in a little volume, and it's I like cemeteries. I like spending a lot of time in cemeteries. Time of the year. I live about 20 minutes away from the cemetery where the Titanic victims are buried,
Mhm.
and I walk through there all the time because it's off the nature trail. There's a nature trail behind my apartment, and then I can just walk across the street, get down from the trail. I'm at the cemetery, so it's a little bit like being in the country, but I'm in the city. So it's really nice, and I've tried sitting down and actually writing poetry there, and I like writing gothic stuff, so yeah, I haven't done it in a while, but I'm gonna get back into it. And I like writing gothic stuff, so I'm in a cemetery. Tend to I tend to do just that. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so you mentioned a couple of your short stories and other things. So, what other projects have you worked on?
Well, I wrote a gothic ghost story. That's a novel, and I'd like to see that get published. But I might have to go back at it again with another maybe rewrite because it might be, I don't know, too regional. Mike said, well, maybe your story's too regional. And I'm thinking about taking another look at it, maybe trying to rework it, but still sticking to most of a story.
I'm not so sure about that. I mean, I mean, yeah, Nova Scotia's a little place, but you see a lot of books like that are set in England or Australia and other, and they're very regional to their places as well. So you can never tell as long as you get the atmosphere right. I think regional can do well. So
Okay. I'm just looking at the wrong market. And my novella about this where the girl and her boyfriend end up in the strange alternate dimension of Arachnal. I had so much fun writing that. I wrote the 36,000 words by hand. I had to write it by hand. If I know some people want to just type at the computer. I can't. Not me. I've got these little black journals, blank journals I get from a dollar store, and I fill them up with my stories, and then I put it on the computer. It's just I have to for that. I had to feel. I don't know, like I'm
mm,
marking that up in a journal. I felt a lot less restrained in the computer. I had to do it by hand. It was just that kind of thing.
yeah, I know another author who does that too. So you're not alone.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so are there any other genres besides horror and the paranormal you'd like to explore in the future?
Well, I was thinking about doing something post-apocalyptic. I started it, but I put it away. But I'm extremely concerned about the fate of the planet. And I'm a nurse steward, and I'm studying herbalism at the Herbal Academy. And they really encourage you being sustainable. And I'm getting an article about herbs published in Plant Hero Quarterly this fall. And I'm thinking about writing something else for them. And because I'm just yeah, I'm just trying to combine gothic with post-apocalyptic, and I hope, and yeah, I'm gonna tackle that later. Just got a lot I gotta do right now. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you do when you're not writing? Do you have any hobbies?
Mm, Take care of my cat. Um, Grow herbs in my garden. I'm studying at the Herbal Academy, and takes a lot of time. And I read books, and I like going to show up at other book launches by other authors and support them. Or I went and saw the last voyage of a Demeter, and anybody who's a horror fan should go see that movie. I really recommend it. It was great. Um, uh, else do we do? Oh, well, the Herbal Academy is interesting mix because you have to study this stuff, and I'm studying clinical herbalism, so it's looking at how the whole human body works. Oh, good lord! And it's so like it's not what I expected, but they also it's very hands on. So this fall, I'll probably be harvesting dandelion roots, maybe some burdock. I know how to make tinctures from them. You learn how to make syrups and cordials and all sorts of um, remedies. And I've got my herbal apothecary, and I press flowers. I learned how to press flowers, and I wanted to because Emily Dickinson was a poet, obviously, and she also may have had a blank journal. This cool, yeah, just my cat. um, where she had about over 400 specimens of different plants in a blank journal that she pressed, and you know like I want to try and do that too. And I had to make a my own personal herbal encyclopedia. It's called the Materia Medica, which basically means healing materials. Like it's a like people like Discoids and uh, those old alchemists
Mm,
in days of old. They had those journals where they had information about plants and how they heal you and all that stuff. And I I got to make my own, and I've got to do the harvest in the fall for my garden and dry herbs and use the herbs. And I've got them in jars and everything, so I'm yeah, I keep busy.
that's good. Okay, so what's up next with you with the writing? What are you working on at the moment?
Mm, Well, I'm working on my novella, and I want I also keep a blog. I've almost gotten up to 900 blog posts. I'm really happy about that. And I blog about herbs and life and the paranormal. And I, mm, I'm going to try to keep sending my ghost story out. And then when my novella's done, I want to send that out and see if that is a success. And you know, do another book of poetry. So I'll be working on it in the future.
Oh, that sounds great. So I think
Thanks.
we'll wrap the interview up here. And I'd like to thank you for being my guest today. It was a pleasure chatting
Sure.
with you.
Yes, it was great.
Okay, and if you want to know more about Hetty, I have a couple of her links in the description down below, so be sure and check it out. Okay, and that's all for now. So bye.
Bye.